Go high level. There are particular use cases where certain clients need to export conversation history with a contact. Now they need to do this because they want to file something or share it with the team. So sometimes they like to export things in a PDF format and print it off and file it, somewhere safe or to share it around. So I've had this particular use case with a particular client that wanted to get these emails that were shared. Maybe it's quote information, maybe it's a confirmation about a particular job, but they wanted to extract this and export it as a PDF. I had to find make.com and use the private integrations feature within a sub account to actually get this sort of conversation going. And I wanted to share that because I know there's some people out there that probably need this. It didn't take me long to set up, possibly about 45 minutes depending on your skill level, but if you understand make.com and how to manipulate some data, I think overall you'll find this is a really valuable thing to learn. So even moving forward, there's little things in make.com that might be helpful for you. I'll quickly go through what those are, a bit of a checklist, and we'll create it live, going from start to finish, and how I did all the little things that really made things a bit simpler for not only myself, but the client that needed to use it. So this is what we're creating. We are creating this workflow that, if I was to quickly explain it, we're getting the message IDs, we're passing that through and getting a contact ID, setting some variables, passing all of the message IDs into an iterator that is running until, if there's 12 different emails, it's going to run and get 12 emails, passing that into a singular string, a singular text aggregator, which feeds it all to OpenAI ChatGPT. And we're giving ChatGPT some prompts to guide it on how we want to format it. And then we're passing it through to Google Docs, and we can export that as a PDF. So we'll build this, if I work from scratch, a few things. Let's create a bit of a checklist here. We need a make.com account, obviously. Message ID, and I'll show you exactly where to get that right now. So in my conversations, I've got this email back and forth, and I want to download or export this email back and forth with this contact. So I hit these three dots and go details, message details, hover over it, and that's your message ID. Now this is the message ID for this entire thread, but each individual email that was back and forth has their own ID. So this one has a different ID. And what we're going to do is use this message ID to extract all of these IDs and then submit that into that iterator that I showed before. And we're going to pass it through to OpenAI to format it correctly. And sometimes we can give OpenAI more instructions around maybe removing the subject lines, maybe removing a certain thing, because sometimes when you got this long thread back and forth, you often see in high level that there may be a reply, but the reply comes with the original email. And so you've got these long threads. So I'll show you how to remove that. So it's a simple format of sent reply, sent reply, sent reply, sent reply, and you've got this nice formatted document of an extracted conversation. So that's how you get the message IDs. Going back to this checklist, we got an API private integration from the sub account level, and we obviously need the API docs, an OpenAI ChatGPT API plugin, and Google Docs. So those are the tools that we need. We're going to go through these individually and create it all from scratch. So let's get a message ID. That's going to be the important part. So this is the conversation that we want. Details. And when you do this for a client, this is what they will be doing. You can create a form. And if you wanted to create a form and just say message ID, input it here, and off it will go. So I'm not going to show you that. That's a bit more complex. Will take a bit more time to set up. I'll just show you how to connect it all with make.com. And then if you wanted to add a form later, that's another step you can figure out, or you can contact me and I can help you how to do that. So we've got the message ID. We'll just input it here. And now let's get our private API key. In settings, private integrations, we'll create a new one, call it conversations. We don't need those. And we need a contact or view contact. View contacts, view conversation, view conversation messages. And I believe it's just those three, because we're only viewing what's been shared inside conversations. And maybe there is view message, let's give it edit. I don't think we need this. I'll come back to it if we do, but let's just create this scope. Cool, got my key, so I'm going to copy that down. I will be rotating this so no one can do any funny business. And get out of that. Cool. Now the integration, we can play around with and make API calls. Perfect. So let's head over to our make.com scenario builder, create a new scenario. And the first thing that we need to do, and I find this really beneficial, is create a data structure with inputs and outputs. So down at the bottom here, we've got scenario inputs and outputs, and we want an input structure. We want to put our API key right there. And we are going to save our API key as the default value because that won't change. Cool. Add an item. And now we're going to do our message ID. Perfect. And because this is not going to change and we're just testing, I will grab this message ID so you can see what it all looks like. We'll save that. Now we go to our first module and it's a make a request. Cool. Let's head over to our API docs from GoHighLevel. So GoHighLevel V2 API is what you want to search. In Google, you scroll down a little bit, you go to GoHighLevel Spotlight. That's the URL that you need. Open that up, and now we've got our playground. I want to scroll down to conversations, and we want messages. We want get message by message ID. This is the URL that we need, and copy this into our module. So copy, and we'll paste this in. Remove the ID part, and this is where the little scenario input function really helps. So now we can put our message ID and start adding our headers. So authorization. Just follow along if you don't understand what these things mean. You can just follow along and figure it out later. This is how I learned. I have no coding skills or any coding background, not a software engineer or anything like that, but just following these tutorials, you start to learn what things are. So I've got my authorization header, which is bearer API key. That's the private integration that we just created. So in the documentation, in the headers, these are required. So version, just done the authorization with the bearer and then the key. So we've got version, and go back to our doc and let's copy this one over. Cool. We should be allowed to make these requests now, but I will add content type a application JSON, and we want to pass the data that we get. Perfect. So before we can test this, we actually need to change it to on demand. activate the scenario, we'll save it, and turn it on. Cool. Now we can run it. And because we've got scenario inputs in the scenario, it's asking us to just double check what we've got here. Message ID, we've got our API key, and now we can send that. Cool. Got a 200 code. Our data that we've received back has messages. And what we need out of this is the metadata of the emails that were sent back and forth. So this is getting the entire conversation ID, but within the conversations, there are replies and sends. So we want to get those. So this is the sent, and then this would be the reply. And this is held in an array. So what we need to do is do a set multiple variables module. I'll come back to this because I actually want to show you why I've got this contact ID part here. I'm taking this contact ID and adding it to the Google Doc later down the line. So just to follow the flow that we've currently got, let me just remove that. I'll come back to message ID emails. But for now, let's just, actually we'll clone this module, rename this, get message IDs. Here we are, we've got our new clone module, but we need a different object to contacts. Get contact, that's the object that we need. We need a new URL, which is this, and I'll show you why a bit later. But right now we've only got a message ID, but we don't know who we're actually getting, and we could probably need that information a bit down the line. So what we're going to do is update our URL and change this contact ID from the first original get message IDs. We can get the contact ID. It's passed through there. And everything else will stay the same, so you can run that and see what we get back. Perfect. And now we've got the person's first name and their email, all the things that we require. We can use it later down the track. Perfect. We're moving along. Now we want to use the set multiple variables. In multiple variables, we have the first thing that we need to get, which is the message IDs. Now we're going to use a special function here called map, and it's because we're going to have to extract the arrays and pass them through to an iterator, which essentially means that we're getting multiple IDs and passing it through as many times as there is an ID. So if there was 12 IDs, then all 12 of those IDs will pass through and collect the emails, collect everything in the same structure. This is the most critical part to understand. If you just want to set this up, you don't need to fully get it or comprehend it. There's other videos on this in make.com, so you can search those up. But just stay with me here and you'll understand what I'm doing. I am getting the message meta email IDs. So anytime you're using this map function, it has to be an array. And then I'm putting this little comma here and saying I want to return this data here, because there's going to be multiple of these. It's only showing me one right now, so that's not going to be really helpful to me. But as you saw here in our data structure, it actually has many, and these are the emails. So I need to do this map function because there could be 17 here and not just one. Like that one here won't do anything for me. I need the entire thing. So that's where this map array function comes in. Now it doesn't accept, if I was to press that, it doesn't accept that. I've just got to put in what make is providing me, which is these brackets and then the 1, and close that off, and that should work. So if we run this again, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Message IDs, and you see it's returned 2 now. So now I can use this in an iterator, because our next module, which is an iterator, is asking for an array. So if I've got an array here, this iterator is then going, okay, there's multiple data here. So it's got message ID 1, message ID 2. So you've got message IDs 1 and 2. And then it's going to say, okay, I need to run this 1, 2, 3, 4 times, as many as we need. And that's the real game changer here. This is the most critical part of the workflow, so you can get all of these messages. Cool. Hopefully that's not too, haven't lost anyone, but yeah, this is just follow along. Again, follow this identically and you'll be fine. The next thing we want to do is contact name. And we just want to add that contact name because we can use it down the line. Give it to AI to format and give it some more context as well. So just giving that more information rather than less, it understands what we're trying to do. First name, might put a space, last name. Perfect. And I believe, going back to the original, that's all we need. Yeah, first name, last name. There's my map function. Cool. Let's continue on. I don't want to run this just yet, but what I do want to do is clone or rename this, which is get contact info. And then we want to do contact and message ID Ds. Yeah. That can stay as iterator. Let's clone one of these modules. Great. And now we can go back to our API documentation and find conversation. Get conversation by, actually no, we need email. So this is the thing that I do need to call out is in this documentation and this workflow, we're only extracting or exporting the subject lines. If you were to have, say, messages on Instagram, messages via text message in one contact, then this workflow isn't going to be useful because we're only looking at a particular email ID and we're only getting messages via that ID. As I said before, each of these conversations, if I was to go back, they all have their own ID. So again, without going too in detail about all of this, but this conversation history, it wouldn't make sense to download the entire thing and tell AI to do it because it'd just be a little bit tricky. Again, this use case is very good for quote information, job details. If there's a single history of one subject line email thread, this is going to be really, really good for you. Again, going back to the workflow, we're going to go messages, get email by ID. So as I said before, this iterator is going to run those IDs as many times as we have those arrays. So if I add that in, and then as I click and open up what we can add, this value, that's all we need. And now we're going to get a return of all of those different conversations. And let's have a look. We'll actually test this right now. See how we got that 2 icon? That means there was 2 emails back and forth. If we cross-reference that with, let me just refresh this. I'm going back to this workflow. If we open this up and have a look at the data, you can see email in this HTML. We've got I'm sure there's the body here. And where are you? Ah, that's it there. I just wrote testing email. There's your paragraph. You can see there. It's just got some styling. We'll clean that up and I'll show you how. So back to this. Just want to see what else we've got. Some more variables, and we'll just copy that over because this is the main part of the workflow. You've pretty much halfway there, more than halfway actually, because getting the entire email history was the biggest part or the biggest hurdle for me. Doing that map function, that was really helpful. Now everything else, you've got pretty much everything you need, and we just want to structure it now. So we'll do get multiple variables, and I'm just going to reference this to speed up. Email date from body. Email date. Sorry, I've grabbed the wrong module. So I need to do tools and set multiple variables. That's better. So email date. I'm just going to create these first. From and body. I believe I'm doing this to get it and give it to AI to formulate and make it look a little bit better. Okay, we need email.message data added. Okay, let's get, just want to reference where this is coming from exactly. It's been a while since I set this up, so just want to hover over this. I can see it's coming from, yeah, get message IDs. Cool. So from the latest module that we got, email date, we want date added. Perfect. And then we want the from email. We also want, well, maybe we want the actual email. Oh, no, that should be fine actually. And then we also want the body, HTML body. Perfect. Now, once we've done that, it's going to run through, right? But AI is not going to know what's going on. And I found a way just to put this all into one string. We needed to do that because I had a Google Doc that I wanted to send it to. So all of this data, it returns different operations, right? But I need these operations, in particular, the body of the message, all that. I just need it in one long string. And to do that, we want to get a transformer, a text aggregator. I believe it's this one. And the source module, if I just go back here, is our iterator. And what you're going to see here is that gray bubble highlight over all of the the modules that we're connecting it to. So sorry, let me just make sure. Other separator, cool. You want to put show advanced settings, and we're going to group it by other, and the separator is that. And going back here, yeah, we're getting our text. This is what we're going to pass through as one string. So we want email date. What we're doing here, sorry if I'm not explaining it well, but we've got email date as, I guess, the beginning of our Google Doc. So we're thinking ahead here. In this text string, which compiles everything, we're going to have email date. We're going to have who's it from. And then we're going to have the body. Okay. Actually, I would put because I just want the email. So if I go here, and this is why we created that before. We have from, email date, and body. And that should not do that. It should go over the iterator. Perfect. That's what we want to see. So these are like connected. So this is going to run with those arrays that we passed through here. So we're going to go, okay, message 1, go. Message 2, go. And it's going to put it all in a single operation. And now we can go to our OpenAI model and just pass through one set of string and say, hey, this is HTML data. Extract the emails and format it in a nice way. So let's do a create a completion module. And we're going to get O3 mini, because I think that's what I did here as well. I believe it's the in-between. It's not super expensive, but it also isn't it can handle more complex tasks. So I'm going to go back to our Notion board and see how I've got our system prompt. I've just saved that. And I'm saying you are an expert at HTML email conversations and formatting the exact conversation. Only reply with the output, never any additional text, because the text will be added to a document. Please format in HTML. Cool. I think for this example, I can just put this one in. We can add an assistant. Now, this is actually quite important. I don't think we need this. I've got in here important output information. Remove any of like subject line, but I won't do this right now. But what I did was, if there's a subject line you want to remove, because some people have really long ones and it takes a lot of time for the AI to sift through. So I say, hey, if you see this, just remove it. And then it just makes the document that you want to download a little bit cleaner. So I give it some instructions on that. I don't think I need to add that for this use case. I will give it some formatting and some rules. In GoHighLevel, when you do have really long strings in the email conversations tab, sometimes the replies comes with the earlier replies in that thread. So what you end up seeing is a document with the sent reply, but the sent that comes with it. So we want to remove that. And there's a way to do that is by showing AI, hey, when you see a certain, I guess, string of text like this, so you'll see this, you'll see these separators. You're going to keep that text. So on here, when you see that, delete what is below until you see the next separator. You'll understand, if you know GoHighLevel, you'll understand what I'm talking about, because just the way the UI formats these email replies isn't great. So when you get to it, you'll completely understand what I mean. You'll notice these text strings, and you're just telling the AI, hey, look for this, delete it. Once you see this next separator line, keep it. I've also got in here things like, keep in mind the dates and times for what to delete does change. So ensure you recognize the formats. So I even gave it the format. So it's like, okay, on the day, like I've got up here, date and time, person name, email wrote. So recognize that format and keep it in mind so you know where things are. And then I'll also give a date formatting example. So output this. So we'll actually keep this. Put this in the assistant prompt. And add that there. And last but not least is our user prompt. What do we have here? Just want to reference. I can't find it. All right. So we're going to, did I add it here? No. Okay. we're going to create our system prompt. So we're saying, please format this HTML oh my goodness, session, and passing that one module through. Don't need anything else. I believe that is all we need to do. And once that's saved, AI is going to go to work, and we just need to create a Google Doc. I'm going to put, so as you saw before, I'm going to add conversation with, and then I'm going to add that person's contact name. In the content, I'm going to put a result, and we're just going to save it to my drive and hit save. Let's see what happens. So you've seen the entire flow now, and we've built it all together. It is a few difficult concepts to wrap your head around, but again, follow it step by step. Let's run this, see what happens. If there's any areas we can troubleshoot that together. We'll cross-reference with what we have. So let's go docs. Find it over here. Did that complete? No, I've got an error. Great. Content, missing value required in content. What do you mean? I didn't get a result back. Why not? I think I didn't get a result because of max completion tokens. So let me just try this again and we'll see what happens. We need the result of that, and let's run it. Shouldn't take too long because we're not giving it a lot of data. Let's look at this text aggregator and see what we got. So we can see the HTML structure that we got. And yeah, let's see how it goes. And let's have a look. Conversations, perfect. So we got the right formatting. Alrighty. For some reason we've got the dividers in there. But again, there it is. Let's cross-reference that. We got the date. Thanks. Let's go ahead. Need a quote ASAP. Let's have a look at what the actual conversation was. So we got the date. Testing emails, the first one. Testing emails, cool. That was the top. And then we got, let's go ahead, import it, need a quote ASAP. And then after that, thanks, let's go ahead, import it, need a quote ASAP. Done. That is how we extract conversations from GoHighLevel. I'm sure when this video comes out, they might even release that feature, but for now, this is the one workaround that, yeah, has helped me. A client that I work with, he uses this all the time, and he's found it really helpful. Obviously, there's some formatting stuff that we could do. We could add in date and time if we really like, but yeah, play around with it. Let me know if you need help setting it up, and thanks.